Hello everyone. Today we are going to create your very first simulation model. Okay, let's take a look at this example. So here is a company called Jewel Vending Company, or simply JVC, who installs vending machines to sell a product. The company is going to install a new machine at a new supermarket. The machine holds 40 products, and the company likes to estimate how long it will take to sell out the 40 products. Well, the answer apparently depends on the demand, which is uncertain. Some days you have more demand, some days you have less demand. So if we can simulate the demand and see how many days it takes to have a total demand of 40 or more, then we're able to answer the question. But the demand is uncertain, so how do we simulate it? Well, fortunately, the company gives you 100 days of sales data from another store. So we can use that sales data to generate the probability distribution of the daily demand. Once we have the probability distribution of the demand, we can construct the simulation to answer the question. Or in other words, there are two steps to answer the company's question. Step 1, using the data to generate distribution of uncertainty. Okay, so that's step 1. And the uncertainty in this case is the demand, for example. Step 2, you generate the simulation to answer the question. We are going to apply the same two-step process to many problems. The uncertainty in this example is daily demand for the product. We need the distribution of demand so we can simulate it. Here are the steps to obtain the demand distribution from the data. This process applies to any uncertainty, not just demand. First, you identify the possible outcomes of the uncertainty. In other words, that simply means let's take a look at the data and identify what are the possible daily demand in the data. Second, for each possible daily demand, let's simply count the number of days with that demand in the data. Third, then we can derive the probability of having that demand by dividing the number of days with that demand by the total number of records in the data. Now let me give you an example. It's actually a very simple idea. So let's say you look at the data and there are 20 records in the data with 2 demands. Okay, and remember you have 100 records. So the probability of having a daily demand of 2 is simply the 20 records with 2 demand divided by 100. 100 records in the data, so that comes out 0.2. Quite easy, right? Next, let's see how you can execute this simple idea in Excel. Now, here we have the data with 100 days of sales quantity, okay? Now, we're going to derive the probability of daily demand based on this data. So for example, this data says on day 1, the demand was 3, day 2, the demand was 3. So the first thing we need to do is to find out what are the possible outcomes. So basically, that means let's see what are the possible numbers in this column B. There are many ways to do that. One of the easy way is this. I'm going to select this, going to data, and just do filter, and I can click on here. Okay, then it lists out all the possible values. Apparently the daily demand can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so I know that. Now let me cancel the filter and write out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the possible daily demand, and now I'm going to count. Okay, so this is a second step, counting how many occurrences are there for each possible outcomes. For example, let's see how many days do we have 0 demand. Okay, so this counting part has many ways to do it. Okay, so I'm going to offer you many ways. So here is the first way. The most basic way is to use a function called COUNTIF. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, so enter the formula as count if, okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. It will count something if certain condition is met. So we're going to count how many data in column B is 0. Okay, so first input is range. That's simply the range you want to count. You want to count from. So we want column B. So you can select all these days all over here, or alternatively, because we only have sales quantity in column B, so I can simply select entire column B. Okay. Second input, criteria. Okay, so this is the counting criteria. We want to count everything that equals to 0. So here's how you enter that. You need this, okay? This quotation equal to 0. And close it. Okay, then enter. Here you go. And then you can copy this formula down, but now you need to change it to 1. Okay, and actually I can copy it down. I just double click it, but now I need to change them to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. Okay, so this is one way of counting. And as you can see, this way of counting is not very efficient. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a second way. So let me call it this one, count 1. Okay, the method 1. Let me do another way, which I'm going to call it count 2. Okay, it's supposed to come out with the same number. Now I'm going to introduce another function called frequency. It's more efficient, but watch out my step carefully. First, you need to select all these cells. Okay, all of these cells, select all of them. And now move your cursor to here, the formula bar, and click it. So you see the cursor is over here. Right now you type in the formula equal to frequency. Okay. The first input again is the data array. You can simply select row 2 to, you can simply select all of this, or you can just simply select entire column B, doesn't matter. Frequency, second input, beans array. Okay, it's still this array. Okay, beans array is simply the possible outcomes. Now you close it. Okay, here is the key part. You do not simply hit enter. What you do is this. You hold Control, Shift, and enter. Okay, you need to hold Control, Shift, and enter. Okay, and you will see that here, once you do that, oops, you have this curved bracket over there. Okay, that means this is an array. You cannot change. Okay, it's an array. All right, so anyway, so you see it's the same result. This is the second way. The third method is to use a pivot table. So if you know pivot table, you can follow me, but otherwise you can stick with the first two methods. So to insert pivot table, you go here, insert, choose pivot table. Here, select the table or range. That's the source of data. So I'm going to select these two columns. Where to insert the table, I'm going to insert it over here. Okay, you can insert it anywhere, but I choose here. Here we have a table. I'm going to drag sales quantity to my rows so that it shows that these are the possible outcomes in column B. And then I'm going to drag the sales quantity to the values. All right, so by default, it aggregates things by sum. I need to change it. I'm going to right click over here, change this summarize value by, instead of sum, I'm going to select count. Okay, as now you can see it's the same number as here. Now that we have found the frequency of each possible outcome, we can go to the last step and to calculate the probability. So first of all, I'm going to sum up all this, okay, to find out total number of records, it's 100. Okay, we know that. And now I'm going to find out the probability over here in this column. The probability of for each possible outcome is simply its count divided by the total number of records. You can just type in 100, that's fine. Okay, and since I'm going to copy the formula, I'm going to fix the reference to this cell F8. So I'm going to press F4 here to put the $sign. So we have a reference being fixed. All right, so now I can just drag it down to copy the formula, and that's it. Here is the probability for each possible outcome. We also called the distribution derived from this method the empirical distribution, because this is a distribution based on empirical data.